What's your take as to how significant the impact of this virus can be on China, its economy, and the ripple effects across the region that you know so well?
Well, there's no question that it will be impacted in China and in Southeast Asia. You must remember, a lot of these countries depend on tourism to a great extent from China, increasingly. Recently, I was in Bali, and there were a lot of Chinese tourists going there. And you see it in other parts of the Asian area. The interesting thing is that if you look at the global picture, I'm sitting here in Mexico City, no virus, and I'm so lucky to be here because the only impact here is on Corona beer. They're calling it the Corona beer virus. But otherwise, in Latin America, we're not seeing any of this impact. So it's very important for us in emerging markets to differentiate who is going to be impacted and what the effect will be. But absolutely correct, the impact will be mainly in China, and that will affect the rest of the Asian area.
Chinese markets have, of course, been closed this past week. What's your gut tell you the size of the market move to the downside when they reopen again?
I think there'll be a continuing weakness, but the interesting thing is if you look at what the short sellers are doing, some of them are beginning to close their short positions, taking their profits. So I think there, of course, still a lot of short sellers out there. One of the things you have to remember is the index has a big impact because of all the ETFs relying on the index. So if China gets hit, then the rest of the emerging market countries get hit as well because the ETFs are in emerging markets generally, and the heavy weighting in China, it affects the index. So this is something we have to watch, and we think that rest of emerging markets will be indirectly hit, but not to a great extent. I think it'll be similar to what we saw in the SARS and other viruses, month, 2 months of weakness, then recovery.
The EEM, which trades here in the U.S. and tracks emerging markets, the main MSCI Emerging Markets ETF, got slammed this week, having its worst week in years, down more than 6%. Mark, would you tell investors to buy it at these levels?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to begin looking at these because, as I said, it will be temporary. See, the good news about this particular virus is that you have the world looking at it, and you have a lot of scientists working on solutions. And, of course, in China, with the command economy, they can really put resources behind the cure and the solution. So I don't think it'll be as long as people expect.
What's your take, Mark, as to China's response to the virus and how open they've been with numbers, with details? Do you think they've been fully truthful, and do you commend them for how they've dealt with it?
Well, I think you have a problem with the provincial authorities. They wanted to keep things quiet because they get in trouble with Beijing if things get too much out of hand. Then they began revealing what was happening. And then the center in Beijing started to say, look, we've got to be more open about this because we're going to get a very bad reputation globally. So I think the way they've handled it now is pretty good. You're seeing a lot of cooperation with other countries. And the U.S., as you know, Trump has offered help.